I'm Ivan Zoot with Rock, Paper, Shears. Let's take a look at shear over comb. Classic straight shear over comb is one of the fundamental techniques of short hair cutting. Not just barbering, any short hair cutting. Any gender, any length, any texture. Shear over comb is all about shear over comb. Using the two together, instead of holding hair in your fingers, using the comb to hold the hair to create beautiful tapered haircuts. Now there's more than one way to cut a haircut, more than one way to skin a client, so to speak. Let's take a look at some of my favorite concepts associated with classic scissor over comb. Number one, keep the non-moving blade parallel to the spine as you walk up the head. It should look like that. If you quack like a duck, you'll chop up your taper. You want to work parallel and smoothly up the head form. Ideally, you want to use a longer scissors. This is our 6 as opposed to our 5.5. We cover more of the comb with more smoothness and control. Another tip, keep the comb held at an angle. If you hold the comb horizontally, where the hair sits in along the base of the teeth at the spine, you tend to leave steps, marks, or demarcations in your taper, and instead of looking smooth, it's going to look like the Capitol in Washington with steps going all the way up. Not a good thing. We're looking for smooth. Now, depending on the length of our hair, longer hair or shorter hair, there's more than one way to cut scissor over comb. On short hair, I like to cut up from below. I'll start low, keeping the comb at an angle, keeping the non-moving blade parallel to the spine, and working my way up. And by the way, did you notice dark hair, light combs? For visibility. You can't cut what you can't see. Everyone can see the guide and the longer hair, the guide and the longer hair for beautiful visibility. So on shorter hair, when we're looking to polish our taper, we will look to work up from below. And you can see what sticks out of that comb that simply needs to be smoothed or polished off to yield a beautiful surface. But when we have hair that's a lot longer, this longer hair needs to be brought down to match this. Instead of cutting up from below, because notice, I can't see anything there. I'm buried underneath all of that longer hair. So when we work with longer hair with classic scissor over comb, instead of up from below, what do you think we do? We cut down from above. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our comb to control the hair, lifting it up and cutting, and then working a little bit lower and cutting, and then working a little bit lower and cutting, and working a little bit lower and cutting, and working a little bit lower and working a little bit lower and working our way down. Now you'll notice what I did in a series of steps with the area between here and there. Using this as my guide or my target, I began working my way down from above to essentially create what I'll call, in this vertical panel, this panel was my guide, this panel is my section I'm working on, I've roughed it in. What do we do? Like constructing a home or building anything, you rough it in and then you polish it up. So what do you think I'm going to do now that I'm done working down from above? Now I'm going to begin working up from below. I'm going to go back to up from below because the hair is progressively shorter. So now when I come in up from below like that, I can see the hair I'm working with in my comb. I can follow my comb up the head. And notice what's happening with the comb. The comb is traveling through a C-shaped or curving motion. I'm rolling the comb till the top of the tips of the teeth are tipped out towards me. That's a mouthful, but it really reminds you of what we're thinking about here. As we roll, if the top of the tips of the teeth are tipped in towards him, I'm going to dig a hole in his head. That's called a bad day at the office. But if the top of the tips of the teeth are tipped out towards me, I will yield beautiful progressive tapering. And Cosmetology School 101, what did they tell us on the first night of haircutting? Create a guide, follow the guide, don't lose, and don't cut the guide. So what did we do? We had our center guide, we moved over, we cut down from above, up from below, matched to the guide. What are we ready to do now? We're ready to move on to the next successive section. That's beautiful scissor over comb featuring our Elite Series VG10 6-inch rock, paper, shears.